Hello and welcome. My name is Matthew Jarecki and I am the Jerk. It is so nice to be in with you guys on a Monday morning. We are talking about sports and talking about life. What a show we have for you today. Big news in the NBA right now. The NBA draft happens on Thursday. I am so excited. The Sixers and Boston made a trade over the weekend. Sixers now have number 1. Boston now has number 3. Shouldn't affect Lonzo Ball, but it should affect Markelle Fultz. And it should affect Josh Jackson at number 3. But the big story of today, the thing that I think will shake up the NBA the most, Paul George officially came out and he had his agent tell the Pacers, listen, I'm not going to play for you after next season. I want to give you time to prepare for my departure. This is important. It has big effects on the rest of the league because the Pacers are now reportedly moving fast on this thing. They want to get value out of Paul George before he can leave in free agency because that makes the most sense for the Pacers organization. They have a star. Why not get value out of him before he leaves in free agency? Now, there are 3 components to this whole Paul George situation. First thing is, this Paul George thing has Kevin Durant's fingerprints written all over it. Everybody in the NBA last year watched Kevin Durant shake up the entire league going to Golden State. It was the story of the offseason. Not LeBron James, Kevin Durant. And the NBA Finals were about Kevin Durant playing just as well, if not better, than LeBron James. The league is simple, folks. The motivation for these players is simple. They're young men. They like fame, money, acknowledgement, and titles. Paul George has been tucked away in the middle of the country the same way Kevin Durant had been for the first part of his career. And he saw what it was like for Kevin Durant to hit the open market. The acknowledgement, the media coverage, the fun Kevin Durant had when he finally got out of Oklahoma City. And I think Paul George wants all of that. And reportedly, Paul George, according to reports, wants that in LA. He wants to leave after next season and go join Lonzo Ball and Magic Johnson in LA. It's a coastal city. It's near his hometown. He's known Magic Johnson since before he got into the league. And, not to mention, they'll have a nice draft pick this year. But of course, it ain't that simple. Now we are getting reports. LeBron James and Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland Cavaliers are sniffing around this situation. They've known since Game 1 of the NBA Finals they need more star power. Paul George certainly gives them that. He averaged 28 points, 8 boards, and 7 assists in the playoffs this year. He's a big-time player. He's also long, good defensively, matches up with Kevin Durant well. And now, if Cleveland does work out a trade for Paul George, he will be on a 1-year contract for the Cavs, and there's no guarantee that he stays. But guys, and anybody who's a Lakers fan should listen carefully here, we've all been in a situation that we thought was good until we found ourselves in a better situation, and all of a sudden, once you've slept on those high thread count satin sheets, it's hard to go back to the scratchy cotton. We've all been here before, right? It's like when the new iPhone comes out. We thought we liked our iPhone 6, but when you see the commercial for the 7, and then your buddy gets it, and then you find out that it fixed the one thing you hated about your iPhone 6, you gotta get it. And that's what Apple depends on. They depend on the attitude of, I can't live without the new iPhone. And if Cleveland trades for Paul George, and they will be in the finals next year, it's going to be like Paul George upgrading from a flip phone to the iPhone 7. He's going to feel that rush of finally competing at the highest level in the NBA Finals. He's going to feel what seemingly every player in the league wants to feel, which is playing alongside one of the greatest of all time, LeBron James. He will get you the ball in the best spots. He will put you in the best positions defensively. And by the way, LeBron James takes the pressure off of you offensively. Like Paul George has been the only point of emphasis for the Pacers for the last 2 years. Don't tell me about Jeff Teague. He looks like a high schooler out there. Now Paul George, if he goes to Cleveland, gets Kyrie Irving and LeBron James taking defensive pressure off of him. It'll be like going from a flip phone to an iPhone 7, and that's what Cleveland is placing their bets on, trying to get the trade done for Paul George. If you're Paul George and you spend a year with the iPhone 7 in Cleveland, how the hell do you go back to the iPhone 4? And if you're going to the Lakers after 1 year in Cleveland, you're going from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone 4. That's what Cleveland is hedging their bets on. Now, that brings me to the Lakers' part in this whole thing. The Lakers are now depending on Paul George joining them as a free agent after this next season, so they don't have to give up anything for him. That's what they're depending on. That's what their grand plan has been. And I've told you guys, there's a major flaw in that plan. You can't sit back and wait a whole season for something like that to happen, because Paul George is going to mess around and get real comfy over in Cleveland. If you're the Lakers right now, and you're seeing the Pacers moving on this thing fast, and Cleveland is making real offers to Larry Bird and the Pacers, this is like watching your girlfriend walk into the yoga studio with the most spiritual, chiseled jawline, guitar in his hand man you've ever seen. 4 inches taller than you, and he's staring at her the whole time. You better make her lunch before that next yoga class. I'm talking about love letters, notes of appreciation, the laundry, whatever you can do before the next yoga class, because the teacher's going to be in there, he's still going to be chiseled, and you just ate a bag of chips and haven't clipped your toenails for like 5 days. If you're the Lakers, do not be delusional. Paul George goes to Cleveland, he probably ain't leaving the iPhone 7 for the iPhone 4. If Paul George goes to Cleveland and they're in the finals next year and he plays a big role in helping them compete for a championship, ain't no way he's going to the rebuilding Los Angeles Lakers. There's just no way. And if you're the Lakers, the one advantage you have are your young assets. What I'm hearing from the reports, Indiana hesitates to trade with Cleveland because all Cleveland can offer at this point is an older Kevin Love at 28 and future draft picks. I'm talking about future draft picks. So if you're the Lakers, the one thing you have going for you, because Indiana wants to get younger, get D'Angelo Russell out of there, get Nick Young out of there, get all your young assets out of there, bring in Paul George, a star, bring in Lonzo Ball, going to be a star after the draft, and let the chips fall where they may. I think this Paul George situation, it is the Kevin Durant situation of this year. It will have huge impacts on the NBA offseason. What I'm hearing, we're not going to get a trade done until draft day. That's what I'm hearing. Although reports these days, like the draft is on Thursday, a lot of the reports coming out right now, smoke screens, false reports, teams trying to trick other teams, teams trying to trick media like myself into spreading bad information. So something else could happen leading up to Thursday. We just don't know. But right now, the big news in the NBA, other than the Sixers and the Celtics trading picks, the news that I think has the most significant impact on next year's finals, Paul George told the Indiana Pacers, listen, I'm going to be out after next season. you might as well get something for me right now. I want you guys to be prepared because I will leave. And Indiana's moving fast on this thing. They need to get value for Paul George. If they don't get any value for Paul George now, they're going to be left in the dust with Jeff Teague and Miles Turner in about 2 years. They're going to be the Brooklyn Nets of the Midwest. I think if Cleveland gets Paul George, I think if Cleveland can somehow, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off, but if Cleveland can somehow trade Kevin Love straight up for Paul George, that is a significant upgrade for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're going to have to change the way they play a little bit. You can't just put Paul George out on the wing and expect him to stay there and bring the other team's big man out there. That's not how Paul George plays. But if they get Paul George, that's another guy that can offer you 25 or more a game, extremely more consistently than Kevin Love can. And Paul George is one of the best defenders in the league, and he's about as long as Kevin Durant. It makes a significant impact on next year's finals. And right now, Cleveland's having a tough time bringing in cheap free agents. If they get Paul George, suddenly it's a little bit easier for these cheap, older free agents to move their family to Cleveland in hopes of winning a championship. All right, after the break, the 76ers and the Boston Celtics swapped picks. I think the NBA is getting smarter. I think this trade worked for both teams. I'm excited about this trade. I cannot wait until Thursday night, the NBA draft. We're on KLJXLP 107.1 Flagstaff, Arizona, Facebook Live, KJACKradio.com. You can call into the show 928-523-4554. We have Lance Hartzler, editor for the Lumberjack, basketball and NBA and college basketball nerd. He's going to tell us everything he knows about the NBA draft. This guy knows his basketball. Be back after the break. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Welcome back to The Jerk. I'm Matthew Jarecki. I am The Jerk. So excited for today's show. God, I did not expect this. One of the most packed sports news weeks, along with last week, that we've had for the last 3 months. And it's funny because the NBA season is now over. But the draft is now providing us with more news than we've had all season as we saw the predetermined Golden State Cleveland Cavaliers finals. So the other news, so we started off, Paul George told the Indiana Pacers, I'm going to be out of there after next season. You guys might as well get something for me, or at least prepare for me to depart, because I will not stay in the Midwest. I'm sorry. That's what he said to them, and it looks like now Cleveland's kind of sniffing around, not sure what Cleveland can really offer other than Kevin Love, and do Larry Bird and the Pacers want an older Kevin Love, 28? You can't really build your entire team around him. That's the big question right now. And I think if you're the Lakers, what you're seeing is your girlfriend walking into that yoga studio with the most chiseled, spiritually fit, plays guitar, got a chiseled jawline man you've ever seen. That's what you're seeing if you're the Lakers, seeing that Cleveland is sniffing around that situation. Because if Paul George goes there for 1 year, if Paul George goes to Cleveland for a year, do you really think after spending a year with the iPhone 7, he's going to be going back to the iPhone 4 in LA, the rebuilding Los Angeles Lakers? I don't think so. I think if Paul George gets a taste of the finals, if Paul George gets a taste of playing with LeBron James, and if he gets a taste of all the defensive pressure that comes off of him when he's surrounded by Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, I don't think there's any way that Paul George is leaving Cleveland after that. I think they'll find a way to make that contract situation work. So the other news, the Celtics have now traded their first-round pick to the 76ers for what appears to be, and we won't know because this trade won't officially happen. It's a trade in principle. We won't know what they officially get back for their first-round pick, but it looks like right now the 76ers gave them their 3 this year and their first-round pick next year. So Boston's going to have 2 first-round picks next year, is what it looks like. And the 76ers are reportedly going to pick Markelle Fultz in this NBA draft. And I think this works out so perfectly for both teams. A lot of times I'll come on this show and I'll just destroy a team, or I'll destroy a player, or I'll destroy a general manager because I think what they did was wrong. In this situation, though, I think the 76ers and I think the Celtics both absolutely won in this situation, and I think the NBA is getting a little bit smarter. Every single year, we get more information. These GMs get a little bit smarter, and I think for the 76ers and for the Celtics, they both got exactly what they needed. Think about the Sixers roster right now. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. 2 big-time players that have been unhealthy as of late, but 2 big-time players, and they need a scorer. That's exactly what Markelle Fultz is. They didn't need a Josh Jackson. They didn't need a De'Aaron Fox. What they needed was a scorer, Markelle Fultz, and that's exactly what they got. I don't see a big problem giving up next year's first-round pick if you're going to get a guy that significantly impacts your team this year, and I think the 76ers this year are going to surprise a lot of people. I think Ben Simmons is like a unicorn. You've probably never seen him play. He's going to be amazing. I saw him play in the preseason. I saw him play in college. That kid is special. Markelle Fultz didn't provide a lot of wins for his team in college. That kid's a special scorer. So I think the 76ers did the right thing in this situation. And I think for the Celtics, what do the Celtics need? If you listen to the experts, they need a wing player. They're probably going to get Josh Jackson. If you listen to any insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, what they'll tell you, Josh Jackson brings some of the most tenacity in this draft, is one of the best defensive players in this draft, is a smart kid that knows the game of basketball. And for the Celtics, yes, maybe Markelle Fultz would have been an upgrade at the guard position compared to Isaiah Thomas. But you have a team that's already gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. You have a chance to build on that. You have a chance to bring in Josh Jackson, a real wing player and a real wing defender, and then bring in a free agent on top of that. Because what the Celtics have really done now, they put themselves in a situation where they have 2 first-round picks next year. That's a real thing to offer a team for one of these marquee free agents. Whether it be Jimmy Butler in a trade or Paul George in a trade. You just never know. But my big takeaway from that trade was, a lot of times you'll see these trades and one team gets screwed and one team looks stupid. I think the 76ers and the Celtics really did well here. All right, after the break, Lance Hartzler is going to come on, tell us all about the NBA draft. He's a basketball nerd. He covers basketball here at Northern Arizona University, editor for the Lumberjack. I can't wait. We'll be back after the break. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Welcome back to The Jerk. I'm Matthew Jarecki. I am The Jerk, joined now by my friend Lance Hartzler, basketball insider on The Jerk, covers basketball for the Lumberjack, the Northern Arizona University newspaper. He's an editor, knows a ton about the NBA, basketball nerd, and we're just gonna fire off questions at him. So number one, can I just ask you, Lance?
Go for it.
What do you think about this whole Paul George thing? He tells the Lakers a year out what he wants, or he tells the Indiana Pacers, a year out what he wants to do.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Well, we were talking during the break. I definitely feel like I respect him for telling them, hey, trade me or I'm going to leave for nothing.
Yeah.
It gives the Indiana Pacers a chance to get something for Paul George. And that's all they can do.
And what we talked about during the break, when Paul George tells Indiana, listen, I'm going to leave after this season, he actually still controls his own destiny. He might have to play for another team this year, this coming year.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to play for Indiana this year anyway.
Oh, he didn't want to play for him last season.
Exactly.
He was not happy with his team.
And I wouldn't be either. They're not really building towards anything. No. It's a boring city. I can't really blame Paul George right now.
So, I mean, they're going to trade him, but he holds his destiny because he has to re-sign with the team. He's a free agent in 2018. So say, hypothetically, the Cavs somehow get him. The only reason he would re-sign with them, in my mind, is if LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and him beat the Warriors in the finals next year. They have to win it. If not, LeBron's a free agent. Paul George is a free agent. They're gone. No title, or in my mind, they're gone. Because that's how LeBron James's mentality is now.
I see where you're coming from. You know, I could see a situation, Game 7, they lose, and they say, okay, let's go do this thing again next year.
Yep.
If they can't find a better situation in free agency,
okay,
why not stay with the Cavs? Although, everything we're hearing right now, the Cavs cap situation is a mess.
Oh, it's bad.
They're going to be $85 million in the luxury tax next year.
Yep, they're willing to pay it, but to get Paul George, they got to trade Kevin Love first and foremost.
And I think, okay, tell me this. Is Kevin Love or is Paul George a significant... Do you get a lot better when you add him and you trade Kevin Love?
I think you match up with the Warriors exponentially better because Paul George gives you the defense that Love doesn't play, and he's another creator when LeBron isn't on the floor. Love is a great player. He's a great star. The Warriors, when they play him, turn him into a good role player. Paul George will not become that because he can handle the ball like a guard and actually create offense.
And he's long like Kevin Durant.
And he can guard any player on the Warriors. Love can really only guard Draymond Green. Even that, he's not that great at.
So what we'll see next year in the finals, if Cleveland does get Paul George, we're going to see Kevin Love's going to be matched up on Paul George. It's going to be Kyrie on Steph Curry. LeBron doesn't really match up necessarily. He kind of plays free safety.
He'll float with Durant or Draymond.
How does that affect next year's NBA Finals if the Cavs can get Paul George?
Well, basically, you take this year's and you make it competitive. And whatever happens with the Warriors this offseason is a big deal, too, because there's reports that Iguodala wants to explore other options.
Okay.
Because he's going to get money.
Interesting.
So it really depends on how the Warriors retool because they're about to kill their depth if they pay Iguodala $18 million.
Interesting. Because the Warriors aren't going to do that, are they?
I feel like they'll pay him at least 16, but he's going to get offered from 20 million plus because of his resume from other teams, just to pry him away from the Warriors.
And the Warriors this offseason have to handle Steph Curry, who hasn't gotten a big contract yet.
And there's reports that Durant and Steph will take less, but there's only so much less they can take.
If you have a situation where Curry is making the same amount as Iguodala again, I just don't see that happening.
It's not fair at all. It's just bad. That'd be good for them. That'd be great. I just don't see it happening.
Okay, so let's move on to the NBA draft. Celtics Sixers trade their pick. Tell us how Markelle Fultz fits into the 76ers team.
Oh my gosh, he fits in perfectly. He is what Sam Hinkie waited for so long before he got fired. Before the death of Sam Hinkie. Trust the process. They're getting Markelle Fultz. He fits in next to Ben Simmons as another player who can break down the offense, as another player who can initiate and allow Simmons to probably just take a break. He'll be the primary ball handler, a la LeBron James, a la Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's that type.
So you have right now on the 76ers, Ben Simmons, a lot of people haven't seen him. Did you watch him in college? What do you think of Ben Simmons?
So, yeah, I did watch him in college when he played for LSU. He, similarly enough, he played on a bad team like Markelle Fultz did at UW. His team did not make the NCAA tournament. They were bad. He was really the only bright spot. He had to do everything. But he showed flashes of being able to be the primary initiator on a team with other superstar talent, with a guy like Joel Embiid, with shooters like Robert Covington, Nick Stauskas, Markelle Fultz as the Mr. Do-It-All point guard. Ben Simmons has the definite ability to run this team. What he needs to be able to do is hit outside jumpers at least at an average rate.
Yeah, because everything I've heard about Ben Simmons, great ball handler, great passer. I mean, I saw some of his passes in the NBA Summer League last year.
It's great. He's got that Magic Johnson, LeBron James-esque playmaking talent. It's just he's got a broken jump shot.
Yeah, and it's hard to survive in the NBA with no jump shot.
I read an article. I agree with it. He shoots with the wrong hand.
Does he?
His layups, all his passes, all his floaters are with his right hand. He shoots jumpers lefty.
That's an interesting...
It's a weird thing that I picked up on.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to the Celtics. So they're going to have the number 3 this year. They didn't need Markelle Fultz. They have an all-star, Isaiah Thomas. It looks like they're going to stick with him. He's going to be a little bit cheaper than some of the other star point guards around the league. What do you think?
So this trade was definitely mutually beneficial for both. I understand why Danny Ainge did it, because he now has the number 3 pick. He also gets the Lakers pick next year, only if it falls between 2 and 5, though. That's the rumored protections. If that doesn't convey, then he gets the 2019 Sacramento pick unprotected.
Weird.
It is very odd how these picks... In my mind, the Celtics did not get that much. I completely disagree.
Interesting.
People are telling me they got a lot for this. I don't agree at all. I think Philadelphia got the better of the trade.
See, I was under my impression was picks 1 through 4 in this year's draft, to me, they're not that far apart. I think Josh Jackson's a great player.
Yeah.
I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be a good player. I think Lonzo Ball actually is the most boom or bust player in this draft to me.
Completely agree with that.
So to me, it was Boston's getting another pick on top of their Brooklyn Nets pick next year. Now they can get Josh Jackson, a real wing player, and trade for a star with those 2 draft picks next year.
Yeah, I love this trade if they end up trading some of these picks for a guy like Jimmy Butler, for even if they sign Gordon Hayward, not even trade the picks, just sign him. But they have to get one of those guys. If not, I hate this for them. Because you're investing so much money into a almost 30 years old 5'9" point guard. That can't end up well. I don't buy giving Isaiah Thomas how much money they're going to give him.
I'm a guy, I don't buy Isaiah Thomas for the future, but I think he's the perfect holdover point guard for now.
Very true. Very true. In my mind, though, that's true. But why not then just draft Markelle Fultz for when Isaiah falls off?
I'm not going to argue with that. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the Celtics at number 2. Lonzo Ball looks like he's going to be there.
Lakers are going to pick Ball. I mean, it's... Josh Jackson is the trendy pick, but with the reports of Paul George now, there's no way they take the player who will do the same exact thing as Paul George.
Right.
Josh Jackson, NBA comp, is Andre Iguodala. At the high end, Paul George. There's no way they'll draft him. They have Brandon Ingram already. They got Julius Randle, who plays the 4. They got Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell. Go get your pass-first point guard. Go get the one that's only worked out for you. He has yet to work out for another team. Go get Lonzo.
All right, tell my audience, what does Lonzo do well, and what scares him? Or what scares you about Lonzo Ball?
So what he does well is just he's a point guard. He makes plays for everybody. He will make everyone on your roster better. It doesn't matter their position, doesn't matter what they do. He will make their strengths another level up. That's what he did at UCLA.
He'll turn the C's into a B.
Yeah, exactly. He has that ability to get them that wide open of looks. His knock is his. We talked about it last week. His wonky jumper. He shoots. He's a right-handed player that shoots it from the left side of his head like a catapult. Which, there's been a lot of NBA shooting coaches who say if you're a good shooter, we're not going to change it. Sean Marion shot it from his chest. Obviously a different position, completely different player. Kevin Martin was a 2-guard that could shoot the lights out. He shot it from his chest. So it's kind of wonky shots can work if the player's in the right situation. And Luke Walton running that Warriors system, he can make it work with Lonzo.
Okay, real quick. Brandon Ingram. I didn't see a ton of him last year. What is Brandon Ingram?
I think the jury's still out on what he'll become. Lakers fans I've talked to, they love him. They still think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be good. He's young. I think he's not even 20 yet, or he just turned 20. He's that young.
Yeah, he was 19 when he got drafted.
Yep. He's still young. And last year, he started the season off really bad. He averaged like maybe 5 points a game until about December. And then after that, he started turning on. After the All-Star break, I'm pretty sure he averaged 15 plus. So the Lakers, they're going to trust him. It's just a matter of him finding his consistency. He has a good pull-up game. He has a good mid-range jumper. He'll become a solid three-point shooter. His biggest knock is just he's too thin.
He's too thin.
He's
that was the knock on Kevin Durant early in his career throughout college.
Yep. He's just got to bulk up a little bit, and then he could take those hits when he drives to the basket.
And you would think adding a player like Lonzo Ball only going to help Brandon Ingram's development.
Without doubt, I think it'll help D'Angelo Russell. You slot D'Angelo at the 2 spot.
Which they're planning on, right?
Yep. And they played D'Angelo at the 2 spot the last half of the season, put Jordan Clarkson at the 1. D'Angelo scored 50 the first game. Like, the dude is better suited as a 2 guard because he has the scoring mentality. Lonzo has the passer's mentality. He doesn't need to score 18, 20 a game. He's content getting 13 and 10 assists.
All right, after the break, we're going to go right on down Lance Hartzler's mock draft. He's going to break it all down for you guys. We'll be back after the break. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Welcome back to The Jerk. I'm Matthew Jarecki. I am The Jerk, joined by Lance Hartzler, my friend, NBA basketball nerd, editor for the Lumberjack here at Northern Arizona University. He's going to take us, for all of you basketball draft nerds, he's going to take us right down his mock draft.
All right.
Lance, I'm going to give you the floor.
All right, let's go. So with the number 1 overall pick, Philadelphia 76ers, surprise, surprise, will draft Markelle Fultz. We've talked about it. He is the perfect fit for that team. He will do everything they have needed out of a point guard for the past 4 years. Sam Hinkie, you finally got your point guard. Sad to see you're not here to see it.
And I love this because he's a guy that can shoot.
Oh, exactly. Number 2, another surprise, Lonzo Ball. Oh, my gosh. Who would have guessed it? LeVar got his wish.
Oh, I love it.
Lonzo's going to slot in with the Lakers, very similar to how Markelle fits with the Sixers. He's a point guard that will give them what they need. He will allow D'Angelo Russell to get his buckets. He will allow Randall to get good touches. He is a great passer that will slot into a team that is predicated on ball movement. He's exactly what they need.
So, again, for our audience, LA is now running, basically, the Warriors offense, correct?
Their head coach is the former assistant for Steve Kerr in the Warriors. He was their interim coach for most of actually the 2016 season because Kerr was hurt. So now Luke Walton is trying to instill the same mentality, not as much from the 3 ball, but the same, just keep passing the ball, keep the ball moving mentality. So then at 3, if the Celtics do not trade this pick, I think they will end up trading this pick, but if they do not, they will pick Josh Jackson. I don't like it because they drafted Jaylen Brown last year with the same pick, which is still just, it's weird to me. It's a weird fit.
Why do you see the Celtics trading that pick, and what do you see them trading that for?
I see them trying to package this pick along with one of the picks next year for Jimmy Butler because they want to win now. Showing that they traded Markelle Fultz basically to trade down. That's showing that they want to win now, or I don't think they are, or that they're in love with Josh Jackson.
So you don't see a team being able to, or the Celtics being able to trade next year's 2 first-round picks for a star this year?
I think a team would much rather have take number 3 this year and then one of the top next year, specifically the Brooklyn pick.
Because of the depth of this year's draft?
Because I think the Bulls would much rather take Josh Jackson at 3 and then whoever they can snag next year.
Interesting.
Because it's more certain because they know who they'll be getting.
All right.
So then at 4 is the Phoenix Suns. Most people I've seen, they have them taking Jason Tatum if Josh Jackson is not available. I think that's who they'll take. I don't like it. I don't think he fits well as an NBA player. I don't think he's going to be good.
What does Tatum do well?
He's your prototypical regular old small forward who can score. I don't think he does anything special. He's a solid scorer, but he doesn't really fit in with the ball-moving type of league with guys who can guard 4 positions. I don't think he slots that well defensively. I don't buy it. The guy I would like them to pick, I don't think they will, is Jonathan Isaac because he fits in well. We'll talk about him when the T-Wolves come up in a couple picks. So that's Phoenix. Oddly enough, this year is the same exact 1 through 4 as last year's draft.
I've heard that.
With the Philly trade, we're assuming it happens. It's the same teams picking 1 through 4 exactly. Really odd. So then at 5, the Kings are going to pick De'Aaron Fox, the lightning quick defensive point guard out of Kentucky.
I love Fox.
I think he's going to be pretty solid. At very least, he's going to be Rajon Rondo before, like the non-all-star Rajon. So still solid. That's his floor, which is still pretty good. I'll take that. Then at 6, the Magic. They have just been locked in lottery mediocrity for so long. That's sad. Ever since Dwight Howard left, this team just cannot hit in the lottery, and I think they're going to try to draft Malik Monk, the other guard out of Kentucky, because they need some firepower on the perimeter. They have Evan Fournier. They got a bad shooting point guard in Elfrid Payton, but I think they're going to allow him to develop a little bit more and just see what happens. So they're going to try to take the firepower. Then at 7, the Minnesota Timberwolves, another team locked in lottery mediocrity for the past, 12 years now? They haven't made the playoffs? It's been a long time. The Kevin Love teams didn't make it. As soon as Garnett left, they were bad. They're going to draft Jonathan Isaac if he's available because he fits in perfectly with Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns.
And what Tom Thibodeau wants to do defensively, right?
Exactly, and that's what Isaac will bring them because he is a guy who can guard 2 through 5, potentially, because of his length, because of his instincts as a shot blocker and perimeter defender. He will slot in perfectly, and he can also hit an open 3. So it fits their offense because he's not a ball-dominant player like Ricky, like Andrew Wiggins, like Karl Anthony Towns. So then at 8, everyone's favorite team, the New York Knicks. Gotta love the triangle. Phil Jackson. I see them taking Dennis Smith Jr.
I have heard that the Knicks are literally just working people out in the triangle just to see how they fit in the triangle.
It's true, they are. And I don't think Dennis Smith fits it at all, but he's the best player available. So they just got to draft the best player. And he's a point guard. They need a point guard.
And where's he coming from?
He's an NC State kid, North Carolina State. He played on a team whose coach was fired mid through the year, but was allowed to finish the year coaching.
Interesting.
That was weird. And he did not like his teammates, so that's the knock on him. He didn't really look like he had fun, but you can't blame him. His coach was bad. His team was bad.
Yeah, everything I've heard about this kid, biggest boomer bust.
He's up there.
Outside of Lonzo Ball.
He's up there. But he's super athletic. He just doesn't really play much defense. So then at 9, the Mavericks. They're going to draft Lauri Markkanen, the 7-foot Finnish kid that played at U of A, because he kind of slots in as that Dirk replacement as a sweet shooting big man. He slots well next to Nerlens Noel. Mm-hmm. I would have them taking Dennis Smith if available because they need the point guard, but he's not going to be. So they're going to draft the next best thing is Markkanen to help them with their offense. I think he's a good fit. Then at 10, the Kings with their second lottery pick. This one came from the Pelicans with the DeMarcus Cousins trade. They're going to draft this kid named Donovan Mitchell. He's a 6'3" 2-guard out of Louisville. He's been rising up draft boards because of his athletic ability and his potential to play defense. The Kings are showing that they're trying to change the mentality around their organization. Draft Fox, defensive-minded leader. Draft Donovan Mitchell, another defensive-minded player.
Interesting.
So they're going to try to change up the culture around there. They showed it when they traded DeMarcus Cousins, so they're going to try now. I know they have Buddy Hield, but he doesn't play defense. Then at 11, Charlotte Hornets. This team, they need shooting. Their offense was bad. They've always been solid defensively, but their offense has been inconsistent. So I got them picking Luke Kennard. He's a 6'6" 2-guard from Duke.
Yep.
He's the best shooter in this draft. Lauri Markkanen is the second best shooter. This kid's the best.
Now, does he play any defense?
He can try. He will develop into a defender.
He's long.
He's long. He's 6'6" and a legit shooting guard. He has the potential to become a very solid 3-and-D guard.
Now you hear that and I wonder, why isn't he going higher? If he's 6'6", best shooting guard in the class.
It's the athletic ability that he doesn't really have.
Okay.
AKA he's white.
There you go.
Like kind of straight up.
Yeah.
So then at 12, I got the Pistons picking Zach Collins. He's the freshman big man at Gonzaga. He didn't play much for him, but he showed a lot of flashes. A lot of NBA execs love him because his ability to translate as a stretch big, who can also be a dominant shot blocker. So he's going to go to the Pistons, who need, once again, more shooting. I don't see him taking a guard because they got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. There's no point guards here that I like for him. Zach Collins fits well as a backup or a replacement for Drummond, who they're rumored to be shopping. So that's what I think they're going to go. 13, the Nuggets. This is where I got weird because if the Pistons pick Zach Collins, there's really no one that fits well for the Nuggets So I have them right now picking the France point guard, Frank Tilikina. It's a hard name to pronounce.
Yeah, Tilikina.
Yeah, he's like a 6'5" point guard with a 7-foot wingspan. In my mind, either the Pistons pick him, and if they don't, the Nuggets will. So Zach and Frank will be 12 and 13 in some order.
Okay.
I bounced back and forth with this. It was a tough one. Because the Nuggets, they got so many young pieces. I almost don't want them to keep this pick. They kind of need to try to shop it because they got plenty of players.
Interesting. So you like the Nuggets going forward?
Oh, I think they're going to gun for their 7th seed at least next year. They're going to be good.
Okay.
With Nikola Jokic, Gary Harris, Emmanuel Mudiay hasn't been that great, but Jamal Murray can slot into that spot and be solid. Depending what they do with Wilson and Danilo Gallinari in the offseason, they'll be solid. Then at Miami Heat, they almost made the playoffs. They're picking at the last pick of the lottery at 14. I see them taking whoever is left, kind of like, I want to say OG Anunoby. They're going to take a reach because he's available. He's a kid that was injured all of last year, but he's kind of got a knock on him that he can't shoot the ball. He's that Kawhi Leonard prospect, so to speak. Great defender, great athlete, can't shoot a lick.
Okay.
So, Miami, I think they're going to take a flyer on him. Then at 15, Trailblazers, Justin Jackson. Super, super good scorer out of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
ACC Player of the Year. Projects as a 3-and-D wing. Trailblazers, they kind of just need that. They don't need ball handlers.
He played 3 years in college, right?
He did. He's a junior. So he's a little bit older.
Which is different.
Yep. He's actually the first upperclassman going that I have. Every single one of these players have been a freshman or a sophomore. He's the first upperclassman I have being taken. And Trailblazers, they just need talent. They need someone who can shoot and play defense. They're kind of missing that. Alfred Camino regressed. He can't shoot jump shots anymore. Mo Harkless has never been a great shooter. Evan Turner's a mid-range killer. That's it.
Yeah, we saw him in the playoffs. They got all their offense from 2 players.
Yeah, so they need a guy who can shoot from the perimeter. Then at 16, I have the Bulls. I have them reaching a little bit for a guy named Terrence Ferguson. He is the trendy prospect who projects as another 3-and-D wing. He was supposed to attend the University of Texas, but he decided to go play ball in Australia. But doing so kind of killed his draft stock because it showed that he's not that good off the bounce and he doesn't have a mid-range game. He's really only a shooter who can jump. But the Bulls, they kind of just need exactly that, especially if they get rid of Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Then at 17, the Bucks are going to take this kid named DJ Wilson. He is the sophomore 4/3 out of Michigan. He is a trendy pick for them because they love their long, lengthy guys who can finish around the rim. And that's exactly what DJ is. He's 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. He's exactly what they love. Like the Bucks, they will always draft length.
That fits in well with the Bucks too.
It does. It fits in well with what they like. Every single one of their starters has a wingspan longer than their height.
Interesting.
It's ridiculous. Then at 18, the Pacers, if they don't somehow trade Paul George before draft day, like everyone believes the trade will happen on draft day, with this pick, they're going to draft a guy named Kyle Kuzma. He's a kid out of Utah, another upperclassman. He's kind of like a Mr. Do-Everything power forward.
Okay.
He can hit outside shots, play okay defense. He slots in well as at least something they can use. I mean, the Pacers are on a weird spot. It's hard to predict what they're going to do until they get rid of Paul George.
Yeah, it's almost a depressing team to hear about.
It is very sad.
Yeah, it's just sad.
Like, as soon as Paul George said the news, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, no. Then at number 19, the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know what Dwight Howard's going to do. I don't know what they're going to do with him. So I'm going to think they're going to draft a center named Justin Patton, freshman out of Creighton. I feel like he's going to be the steal of the draft. He's going to be one of the steals in this late first round because he is an uber athletic 7-foot center that can finish above the rim. He can basically do what Dwight Howard did for him last year because Dwight was not good.
Yeah.
So whatever the Hawks do, he can fit in well as a backup big for them because they were bad as backups. Their backup bigs were not good.
And the Hawks are another one of those teams just floating around like the 5th seed of the East.
They've been in the playoffs for like 8 straight years, but they haven't been good outside of one of them.
It's almost the worst spot to be in the NBA right now.
Exactly. They had 1 year where they were the 1 seed, then they got destroyed by the Cavs like 2 years ago. So good for them. You got destroyed by the Cavs. Then I'm in the midst of basically 4 straight bigs being taken. At 20, the Trailblazers have another pick. They're going to take Jarrett Allen, another 6'10", almost 7-foot center out of Texas. Freshman big man, pretty solid, athletic, kind of raw. They can throw him in the D-League, let him develop. Kind of like one of those type of guys. 21, Thunder. They're going to take a flyer on Bam Adebayo, the big man from Kentucky.
Yes.
Yep. He's another one of those guys. He's super raw, super physically imposing, athletic, though. So another guy you can take, throw him in the D-League, let him develop. Now with this one, this is a fun one. The Nets, they're going to take a risk because they just don't care anymore. They just need to take a risk on players who could be really good, even if they flame out.
Yeah.
Harry Giles, the Duke big man who was plagued with injuries before he came into college. He kind of lost a lot of his bounce that he had as a senior in college, or in high school, my bad. And he didn't do much for Duke this year. But he still has that potential because he's young and he's got the physical tools. Nets are going to take him. They're looking for anything. So I think they're going to take a risk on him. I don't know what Brook Lopez is going to do, what they're going to do with him. He's kind of just stuck there.
Getting a little bit older.
Yeah, getting a little bit older. They just need something. Then at 24, the Raptors, my bad. 23, the Raptors, TJ Leaf. He is the player who probably got the most out of Lonzo Ball at UCLA.
Oh, TJ Leaf. I remember TJ
He's the
Leaf.
6'9" power forward who can shoot from outside as well as dribble a little bit. Like, Lonzo gave him easy dunks all year. And Bill Walton loved him. Every time I watched a UCLA game, Bill wouldn't shut up about him.
Interesting.
Yeah. TJ he's going to be solid, I think. He can shoot from perimeter. He fits the Raptors because they need another big, a la Patrick Patterson, who I think will leave in free agency, who can replace and fill that role.
Okay.
Then now at 24, the Jazz. This is the second European player I have being taken finally. Isaiah Hartenstein. He's I believe he's Lithuanian. I may be wrong, but he's a big man out of Europe he's not your everyday Euro big. He's not the guy who can just shoot from the outside. He's more of a bruiser. And the Jazz, Gobert was the last Euro big they picked. He turned out pretty well. The Jazz are kind of like the Spurs. They know how to draft European players. I don't know when Hartenstein will come over. I like to believe they will stash him in Europe for a year or two, let him keep developing, and then bring him over as a backup big. I think this could be another one of those kind of steals in this draft. Then going down the line, only like 5 more picks. Magic. They're up again. I think they're going to pick a point guard finally. They're going to pick Jawan Evans, the Oklahoma State point guard. He has the talent that a lot of the top flight point guards have, but he's short. He's like 6 foot. So that's why he doesn't get the love that Markelle gets.
How's his shooting?
It's pretty solid. He can hit from outside. He's better. He's a great pick and roll player.
Okay.
His strength lies in getting to the rim, even though he's only 6 foot. His numbers are kind of ridiculous at his percentage of finishing at the rim for his height. He was one of the best in the country last year. Then at 26, Blazers again. They have all these late picks. It's weird.
Yeah.
They're going to draft Frank Jackson, another Dookie. He was the freshman point guard that kind of surprised everybody, saying he's going one and done. And I think they're going to take a flyer on him because their backup point guards weren't good. It was Shabazz Napier, and I don't even remember the other one because they weren't very good.
Yeah.
So they could use another solid ball handler to back up CJ and Dame. Then at 27, the Nets again. They're going to take a flyer on Josh Hart, Villanova 2-guard.
I remember Josh.
Last year they
Played well for them in the tournament.
He did. Josh Hart's a very good player. He's kind of like the Malcolm Brogdon of this draft. An unheralded upperclassman who played on a very good team. I think he has a chance to translate into the next Brogdon type. A sweet shooting guy who can play defense and handle the ball. That's how I see Josh Hart. I think it's going to be a good pick if the Nets take him. If not, I've seen him falling to the second round. I know the Suns have worked him out like 4 times, so they're just hoping that he falls. Then at 28, the Lakers. Finally, they have another pick. Look at that. They're going to pick Wesley Iwundu. He is a small forward/guard out of Kansas State. He kind of did everything for them. He was another one of those guys that can do just about anything you ask him to do. He played point for them in some instances, which is odd because he's like 6'7", 220. So he slots in that Warriors style of guys that can just play multiple positions.
So is he a D-League type player for this year?
He would definitely be in the D-League for a little bit. He's like most of these guys picked from 20 on will spend majority of their time in the D-League, or should we say the G League is the new name.
The new Gatorade League.
The G League. I hate it. Can't stand that. So these guys, they're going to spend some time there. It's getting better. It's getting more dynamic with how many teams have affiliates. I'm reading reports that we're shooting for a 30-30 ratio, so every single team has an affiliate.
Interesting.
Which would be really cool.
Yeah.
So then the last 2 picks, Spurs at 29. I feel like they're going to take a flyer on. I originally had OG Anunoby falling all the way to 29, but then I realized that is just a bad idea. The Heat will not let him fly by. So I feel like they'll take Frank Mason, the point guard out of Kansas.
I like Frank Mason.
I think they would go for him. I know they picked a point guard in last year's draft, but he's the type of guy that they could pick. Just take a flyer, say, hey, why not? We'll take him if they keep the pick.
And if anybody can develop Frank Mason, it's going to be that Spurs system.
Oh, without a doubt. They have one of the – we saw it with DeJounte Murray as well as Jonathan Simmons.
Yep.
They can develop players out of nowhere. Then with the last pick in the first round, the Jazz again, Jordan Bell. I like him a lot. He is the 6'9", Mr. Guard everyone small power forward out of Oregon. He was their best defender when Chris Bochy got hurt.
I remember Bell.
He helped them a lot in the tournament. He will be a solid player because he translates athletically as something Utah Jazz they need at the big spot. They don't have a lot of athletic bigs.
Physically dominant.
Exactly. So that's my first round.
All right, you heard it here first. Lance Hartzler, go to his Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Lance_Hartz, Hartz.
And you can catch him on at the Jerk Show. He'll be in my mentions. Thanks for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow, 9 to 10 a.m. weekdays. It's called The Jerk. You can go to at The Jerk Show on Twitter. You can go to The Jerk with Matthew Jarecki on Facebook. You can go to our YouTube page. You can go to my personal Twitter. Just type in my name, Matthew Jarecki, Jarecki. We are broadcasting on KLJX LP 107.1, Flagstaff, Arizona. Thanks for being with us. This has been The Jerk.